Kia ora everybody, Julian from Mosh here again. Today I want to talk to you about a strategy exercise that we do. This is something that we do in our workshops. It's called a digital ecosystem, and that's just a fancy name. All it really means is a visualization of not only the social media platforms that you're going to be on as a brand, but also how those platforms integrate with your other digital assets, namely your website and database in the example. So it'll make more sense when I show you what I mean. So let's have a look. Alright, so what does that mean? We do this as an exercise in our strategy workshops on a whiteboard. It gets incredibly messy, but we take it away and we turn it into a graphic, and that's what I'm showing you here today. And often we'll start with a website. It's usually the hub of a digital ecosystem. And not only is it important to have a website that reflects your brand, but your website represents your position in Google search results. So we're sort of encompassing search engine optimization in here as well. And that's an example of where you can build your own digital wealth in an asset that you own versus one that you don't, such as the social media platforms. Okay, when you have a website, it's really important that you have goals. You need to understand exactly what it is that you want people to do when they visit your website. You might have 3, you might have 10, you might have some other number. This is an example of an e-commerce setup, and pretty common. Got 3 conversion goals here. So people are making an inquiry. So that's filling in a contact form, asking your question, asking about product. The middle one, joining. So that's joining your email newsletter. And the bottom one, making a purchase. Obviously, the main goal of an e-commerce website is people making purchases. Another example of a asset that you own is your database. And of course, when people join your email newsletter, they're becoming a member of your database. When people make a purchase, you're collecting information about them as well. They become a member of your database. Really important that you have a privacy policy around this stuff and you're actually complying with the legislation relevant to whichever country you're in. Here in New Zealand, we do have a law around this stuff, and you have to have appropriate permission, not only to send emails, but to do things like customer file database targeting inside Facebook, which we'll talk about in a minute. Okay, so this is the stuff you own. Over here, we've got the stuff you don't own. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and email. So starting at the bottom, of course, you're going to be sending emails regularly to the people who have opted in. That's important. Email is cheap. If you've got a database of people who are interested and excited to receive your emails, that's a really cost-effective way of getting in touch and communicating with people. Twitter, not hugely popular here in New Zealand, but in other parts of the world, obviously, really, really popular. Instagram and Facebook, the 2 giants owned by the same company, good old Mark Zuckerberg and his mates. So yeah, these are the social media platforms. You don't own them. They can be very valuable. You can build a community, you can drive sales, you can get engagement, but ultimately what you own is on the left-hand side. Okay, and then we start talking about the paid side of things. As I mentioned, Facebook and Instagram owned by the same company, and as a result, the paid promotion is done from the same place. Facebook Business Manager, inside Facebook's Business Manager, you have your ad account, and your ad account is linked to your Facebook page and your Instagram account. It's really important that you have that set up correctly. Don't use the promotion tools on your Facebook page, that Facebook, the blue boost button. You're not really using the full set of features available to you. Ads Manager is where it's at. It allows you to do the more sophisticated targeting and other things, which we'll talk about in a second. Inside Ads Manager, you can target people, and you can target people based on their age, their location, what kind of phone they use, the things that they're interested in, a whole bunch of other stuff. Definitely worth exploring that stuff. And when you're setting up your target audience, you want to translate the people that you're targeting into a set of saved audiences inside Ads Manager. And yeah, the sky's the limit. You can do a whole bunch of stuff there. Next part I want to talk about is the Facebook Pixel. You may have heard about this. We've done a couple of videos on it already. The Facebook Pixel is a little bit of code that you can put on your website. It's pretty simple. Inside Ads Manager, you can get the code, and it's got the instructions there for your web developer, and they can add the appropriate code to the website. If you're using something like Shopify, it integrates super easy. You just kind of put the ID into Shopify admin, and it all does it for you. Okay, last thing I want to talk about is customer file, custom audiences. So this is when you're using your database to create custom audiences inside Ads Manager. And some platforms integrate automatically, others you just basically get your list of email addresses and mobile phone numbers and upload them to Ads Manager, and Ads Manager will find the people in your database on Facebook and Instagram and create an audience of those people that you can use for targeting. Obviously, they have to have used the same email address or mobile phone number for it to match, but quite often it does. You know, we usually find a 50, 60, 70, 80% match up rate, so it works pretty well. Really important that you do this stuff properly though, and as I said earlier, the privacy policy that you collected those email address and phone numbers under needs to allow for this type of targeting. Can be quite powerful though. You can take segments of your audience, for example, people who have made a purchase in the last year but not in the last 3 months, that kind of stuff, and pull out segments and create audiences and build campaigns around that stuff. So there you go. That's kind of what we mean when we talk about an ecosystem. It's usually thrashed out on a whiteboard, gets really messy, and we argue and debate and discuss and consider the different platforms, and then we turn it into a graphic like this, which then you can refer to in the future and just reminds you of what it's all about. So there you go, digital ecosystem, really powerful, simple visualization, but can obviously help you, make these decisions, but also explain to other people how it fits together and how everything should be working. Just one part of a good social media strategy, of course. There are other things: competitor analysis, brand voice, content strategy, things like that. It's important that you get that stuff well thought out in advance before you start on your social media journey, but then also equally important, not being afraid to change it. So thanks for watching. Hope you got some value out of it. See you on the next one.